Om. 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 In chapter 2, verse 7, Arjuna was in a state of confusion. He was in panic, unable to make a decision as to how to respond to the given situation. He was engulfed by attachment, sorrow, and delusion. He was overpowered by the negative emotions towards his duty and requests Krishna to guide or teach him. He is using 3 words. One is Shreyas. Shreyas is good for me. Prayas is pleasure for me. Another one is Hitkari, Hitkari, my welfare. Since Krishna is addressing to Arjuna and Arjuna is our representative, let's take those words as Krishna is directly talking to me. He is our representative. So he's saying, Arjuna is saying, I am your disciple. Ma tvam prapanna. I am your disciple. I am surrendering unto you. Please guide me. All problems and challenges that we experience is all because of moha, which is delusion. You can call it delusion, illusion, hallucination, whatever. Not things, knowing things as is. That is what moha is all about. All sorrows and all pains are due to that not recognizing the true self, one's own self, inner self. There is an inner presence. Krishna starts with one word in, he responds to Arjuna in verse 11. First word is asochan. That is, you are grieving for something that is not worth grieving. We grieve when a person has departed or when we lose something. But a realized person does not grieve. That means it's not just about the death. We use this word death because of war friend, but we grieve about the past or worry about the present or future. So Krishna uses these words. You are grieving for something that is not worth grieving. And he also says that you speak like a realized person, like a sage. Generally, we also use with kids, with our children. You act smart. What does that mean? It's the opposite. You are not. So exactly that's how Krishna addresses him. You speak like a jnani, as though you are a jnani, but you are grieving for something that's not worth grieving. Another word is, Glenn, you may have, you can ask questions. But gadasoon, agadasoon, that means those who are dead, those who are alive. Realized ones do not grieve for the dead or alive. This needs to be expanded. This sentence needs to be expanded. We grieve about the past, our events, our occurrences, worry and grieve about the future. We are often concerned what are all the what ifs come to our mind. The realized one jnanis do not grieve. This is a statement that we are going to work on right now, because Sankhya means second chapter is Sankhya Yoga. Sankhya means logical philosophy, inquiry. The truth is indicated by the step-by-step fashion. I'm expecting one person, so let's see. So when Krishna says that a jnani or realized person does not grieve, we can infer that means the ignorance grieve, right? The ignorance grieve. If so, what is the cause of grieving? Ignorance. Ignorance of what? There are so many things that we are ignorant of in this universe. Now, I am the one grieving, so I am ignorant. Ignorance is of not knowing who I am. That is self-knowledge. In this chapter, he is introducing Atmajnanam. I don't know who I am, what I want in this life, and I keep on chasing like a dog chasing its tail. Humans use the word I several times in a day. There was a telephone company who gave a research and found out that each individual uses I 700 times a day over the phone when they use it. We have experienced and we are experiencing many problems, sufferings, strides, and struggles. But we have never ever passed that this struggle, this suffering is because of not knowing who I am. We have never paused and thought about it. What is the connection between the ignorance of Atma and the struggle? How can not knowing who I am could be the cause of my struggles? How does it make any sense when Krishna says ignorance of the self is the cause of sufferings? Arjuna is in sorrow. As far as Krishna is concerned, he is in sorrow because of not knowing the self. That is the cause of grief and sufferings. But if you ask Arjuna, he would say, the death of Bhishma and Drona is the cause of my sorrow. Oftentimes we are in grief because of someone's death, or not knowing what we want, or not having a job or position or finance, or the words that are offensive words that are directed at us. So how can it be that not knowing the self is the cause of all sorrows? Now let's take an example here. Say one person is, in the morning, he's watching a TV with his hot cup of coffee and breakfast. So when he is watching the TV, he's seeing a scene that the train that is supposed to be going through his town had an accident, and there were about 170 deaths, and another few people are in the hospital. He feels very sorry by hearing the news. Oh my God, early morning, now 170 people are dead. But he continues with his coffee, day-to-day chores, and he continues. He feels sorry for a few minutes and then gets ready to work, right? Work from home. After 2 hours, the doorbell rings and a messenger comes and he says to Mr. X, your son was traveling in the train and he passed away. Here is his badge. Now, this did not go as news. Earlier, the news of 170 people was an information. But now this one person's death caused him sorrow. Now we can conclude that there is something beyond this incident called death is the cause of sorrow. If death alone is the cause of sorrow, he should have been in sorrow when 170 people died. That didn't happen. That doesn't happen because we know so many people are dying on a regular basis. We don't feel the sorrow. This was one question Yamadharma in the Prashna Upanishad. Yama asked Yudhishthira, the first son of Pandavas, what is the wonderful thing? What is that is wonder in this universe? So he responds, we see death all the time, but we don't think about our own death. People think I'm going to live long, and they think about it that way. That is the wonder. Most wonderful thing, thing to wonder about is mentioning that. So when this person, when he was not in sorrow or anything, when that 170 people died, but only when this his own son died. How do we relate? The inference is that death is not the cause of sorrow, but the connection that we have with this body, and that body is a cause of sorrow. Wherever there is I and mine are there, any and all profit and loss, pleasure and pain of those is the cause of my sorrow. Arjuna here thinks they are my people, they are my teachers, my guru, he is my grandfather. There's a strong I and mine there. See, if a robbery happens in our neighbor's house, it is an information. Now, all the companies are laying off thousands of people. It is all an information. That doesn't cause us feel sorrow. But if my partner or myself or my children, we lose job, that causes sorrow. Therefore, the cause for our sufferings are not knowing the exact meaning of I. What we say I and mine needs to be analyzed, inquired into. Krishna says, none of those are you, and none of those are yours. We need to reflect that we come naked and we go naked. We own nothing in this planet. When I shed this body, all the possessions that I think are mine, none of them will go away, go with this body. Even the name dissolves. It is no longer Vijaya, it is body. And it is not she, it becomes it. That I and mine is the ego. Holding on to that I and mine, one can never overcome any sorrow. That is the gist of Gita. Wherever there is I and mine, know who that I is. Know thyself. I am that I am. Tat tvam asi. You are that. This Gita is not only for Arjuna. If it was only for Arjuna, Krishna could have done it in 2-3 verses. He doesn't need to write 700 verses. Nor do we grieve for Bhishma or Drona to read about it or learn about it. Gita is a medicine for sorrow. Shoka nivritti, removing the sorrows. We humans really do not know what we are or what we want in our life. Time flies, years go by without knowing what is the purpose of human existence. For 60, 70, 80 years, people just go eat, go here, do this chore, do that. And then at the time when the physical body gives away, then we are in struggle, we are in sufferings. Now we keep on buying things, holding, stocking. We have storage unit, looking for happiness in everything around us, which we are, but we do not know about it. Whenever a person is in deep sorrow, overwhelmed, we should not talk spirituality there. Because Arjuna's mind is in that situation. So Krishna is trying to lessen that. We have to lessen that sorrow than talking about spirituality. I remember when I was 12, 13 years, I'm just standing 3 feet away from my father's dead body. And one of his friend, older gentleman, comes and hugs me and says, Atma doesn't die. I was a little kid. I didn't understand that. But I said, what do you mean? My dad is gone. Tomorrow morning, I can't talk to him. And I was angry, upset at that time. I was 13 years. Today, I realized what he meant, but then you don't go and say those things when the people are suffering. Empathy should be there at that time. So focus to lessen the emotion, deep sorrow. That mind is anxious, agitated, deluded, and not ready to listen or grasp any of spiritual talks at that time. Krishna says, every human being, now he's explaining this concept of Atma, he's trying to explain it by saying that every being is divided into two. One is Atma, one is Anatma. What is Atma? We see, we hear, taste, smell, everything. So many things we understand, we grasp, and that knowledge, that information that is grasped, right? Who is grasping that information? Through the five senses. That is self. Self is the seer, knowledge, understander, who understands it. Chaitanyam, Chetanam is all Sanskrit words, knowledge. One who grasps that knowledge is Atman. Everything else is seen. There are aham and idam, I and this. Anything you say, this is not you, obviously. Now, when you say this with your hand, with your body, you are not that body. Now, let's do a 20-second experiment. Just close your eyes and visualize this. You are walking going for a hike, big near forest. When you are walking and you go up, you see about a big waterfall falling from the top about 2,000 feet away. It is falling with big thunder, and you hear the sound and the flow of water. Water comes, and as it goes, forms a stream. You are now walking along with the stream, and you hear the thunder, and you also see suddenly it starts raining, thunderstorm, and you hear a tree branch falling down. You start walking fast, hurriedly, and you put your feet, it's all slushy, watery, and you are trying to walk fast. And you come to the car, and you hear birds chirping, you hear your children enjoying and laughing and giggling. And you come to the car and start the car. Then you hear the trucks and lorries and going there, their sounds, and you come home, park the car, wash your feet, and sit in front of the TV. Now you open your eyes. None of this really happened. What happened was you were watching your mind. Everything was in your mind. Nothing really happened. You heard the sound. You felt the slushy water under your feet. All these things are in your mind. So the mind is not you. You are the seer of the body and the mind. Right? The concept of I goes only up to the body. Beyond that is everything is mind. So our body and mind are anatma. Anatma means that is visible. Atma is the seer. That's why when the personality is gone, it becomes the body, body becomes it. There is no he or she. There is something in this body. That is why we get that respect. When that is gone, everyone will be even afraid to come near the body. There is no reason for you to be sorrow, says Krishna to Arjuna. He asked 3 questions. Are you in sorrow because Bhishma and Drona's Atma or self, the inner presence, would die? Or are you sad because Bhishma Drona's body would die? Or are you in sorrow because what you do is unrighteousness, adharmam, the act of unrighteousness? You don't need to be in sorrow for any of this. If Arjuna responds, he is foreseeing Arjuna's question. If Arjuna responds that my most powerful weapon, Gandhibam, bow and arrow, he is a great archer. would kill their Atma because my weapon is strong. Krishna says, no weapon can kill the self. And these two statements are very important. Verse 12. Never was a time that you, me, and these kings were non-existent. There will never be a time that we will be non-existence in the future. That means Atma is ever present. We existed before this body and we will continue to exist after the destruction of this body. There is no birth or death for the self. Every being is both self and non-self, Atma and Anatma. If you consider yourself as self, then the inner presence, then you have no death. But if you associate yourself with the non-self, the body, then there is a death and actually rebirth as well. Verse 13, he says, since childhood, we have been using the word I for 60, 70, 80, 100 years. But there is no change in that I. I was always present throughout. It is present continuous. I always there. Because if at the age of 70, if you can remember when you were 10, that means how do you know that that was you, that I continues? Otherwise, if the I is gone when you were an infant or a teenager to an adult, then you won't remember those days. Physical body changes from a toddler to a teenager to an adult to a senior. Change is only for the body. Seer of the change is the same. Therefore, Arjuna, do not worry. Body has 6 modifications: existence, birth, growth, disease, decay, and death. I is the witness of all these changes. Changes can be seen only with reference to something that is stationary, like a movie screen. Screen is stationary. The movie is projected on that, and screen is not affected by any of this. In this chapter, we will be going back and forth in verses because of the topics. Now we go to verse 22. Krishna says, just like we change our clothes, say I go and buy a new outfit. I like it, I enjoy it, I wear it for a couple of years, and then it fades or it is torn, then I remove it and get a new one. Similarly, this Atma, the inner presence, sheds this body and gets a new one. Therefore, Arjuna, do not be sad for Bhishma Drona's death. Atma has no birth or death. Just like the snake sheds its skin, Atma sheds the body. Atma uses this body as an outfit. So you don't have to feel sorry for their death. I am different from the clothes, right? From the outfit. Now, verse 19, all activities are performed by the body and mind. They experience the consequences. Self, Atma, is a mere witness, Sakshi. Atma is neither the doer nor the enjoyer. In another text by Shankara, Astamalakiyam, he says, I am not the doer, I am the Sakshi witness, but not just a witness, because if I am a witness, say my friend is walking on the street, I am witnessing the friend. I did not ask my friend to walk this way. I am witnessing. That means what? Whether I am seeing or not, she or he is going to walk. So I am not just the witness, but I am the substratum. I am the basis of that action. Because I am here in this body, everything functions. So Adhisthana Rupa Sakshi. I'm not just watching it, but I am, because of me, things happen. But I'm not part of it. The self is neither killed nor gets killed. Krishna talks about killing because they are in the war front, not applicable to a civilian. So understand, he says, so understand, let's understand this as your duty. Atma is akarta abhokta. That means Atma does not do anything. Bhishma Drona's body performed and the body will face the consequences. There's a big debate about whether Krishna is encouraging violence because of people who have not understood it. He's just referring to do your duty at all times. If an incident causes sorrow, it is because there is an I and mind. That I is misplaced on the mind and body. Once self-knowledge is acquired, the situations will not change, but they would not be the cause of sorrow. At that point, everything around us is events, occurrences, and incidences. I have felt, recently I've been feeling that way. It is a little scary. How can I not be affected by something that is happening? But that is the spiritual evolution. You have to observe yourself. Krishna emphasizes that existence, with a capital E, existence has no distraction at all. That which is has no non-existence. That which never exists has no existence. We can say several examples. See, there are, one is a very popular one in scriptures is mirage. Some appears to exist, and at the same time, that appearance has no location of existence. Mirage. In a desert, you walk, keep walking, like California Death Valley. You keep walking, it's sand everywhere. You walk towards the appearance of that water because you are thirsty, and it keeps moving. It is neither there nor not there. It appears but has no real existence. You can't quench your thirst. So there are real, unreal, and there is appearance. Another one is blue sky. The sky is blue. Space has no color, but it appears blue, and it appears to be having a curvature. Blue is due to the diffraction of the light. And now, last month we saw a lot of aurora in the North Pole and South Pole. You can even rainbow. It's just an appearance. There is no rainbow per se. Third example is Vedanta's very popular example, rope and snake. Snake appears to exist, generates emotion, fear in us, and birds and actions. But that snake has no existence. Krishna says that is how the sages and rishis view the world. That which appears to exist but has no real existence. Atman, the inner presence, Atman alone is, and that is referred as Sat. Sat means it exists trikale, all the three times. It's not the time, it's not the past, present, and future. It is before the knowledge, during the knowledge, and after the knowledge. Just like the clay. Clay is always there as a clay, as a pot, and when the pot breaks, clay is there. Clay is ever present. Whether I know this Atma self or not, before I knew, Atma was there. When I know, Atma is there. When this body sheds, Atma is going to be there. That is Sat, Trikale. Unreal never exists. When things are translated in English, people call unreal. The world is unreal. World is not unreal. We all experience it. Unreal is something, a baby born with a horn. That is unreal. Elephant with a horn. That is unreal. Unreal never exists. Real never is non-existent. What we see is asat. Asat means appears to exist. It is Brahman alone appears as different, but it's not unreal. It appears, it is referred as asat, has no location, but it gives experiences, just like that snake. We have read in science, scientists say, proved that law of conservation of mass, matter can neither be created nor destroyed, it can only be converted. That which ever exists is Sat, existence, and it is never non-existence. Whatever appears to exist has no existence. That is referred in Sanskrit as mithya, not unreal. It is an appearance, mithya. Whatever is in existence is never non-existence. That is Satya. Brahma Satyam, Jagat Mithya. Mithya means appearance. The Brahman appears as Jagat. One alone is non-dual, Advaita. Verse 23. 4 weapons can destroy anything, including this body. An axe.
Can we say, Vijayaji?
Yes.
On the last verse, you were talking about the world.
Mm-hmm.
So, is the world mithya, non-existence, or world is the real existence?
It is mithya. It is mithya, non-existence. But it appears to exist, causing us all the emotions.
On the substratum of the self.
Yes. Because when we are in deep sleep, we don't see the world. We don't have any kind of emotions. Only when we wake up, we experience it. It is an appearance. It is the reflection of what is it. That's why the world is your reflection. If I think you are hurting me, that is my thought. You may not be doing it. Everything is in the mind. Brahma Satyam, Jagat Mithya. Jagat is an appearance. It is not unreal. People may, sometimes in English translation, that's why I read Sanskrit and English.
Yeah.
English translation, they say the world is unreal, but it's not unreal. We all experience it. But it is appearance of that one. Verse 23, he says that all these 4 weapons, axe, fire, wind, and water, they can destroy anything, including this body. Axe, fire, water, and wind. But none of this can harm the space. And Atma is subtler than the space. Space is in Atma. Because we don't see the space when we are asleep, right? So he's saying, Krishna is saying, Arjuna, do your duty. Fight. Because a sword cannot cut it. A fire cannot burn it. Water cannot wet it. And air cannot dry it. Arjuna, do not be sad. Bhishma Drona's Atma is ever existing. All changes are only for the body-mind equipment. There is no birth, no death for the self. Self is indestructible. Just like we, Jiva, change our clothes, self, Atma, changes the body. Self is the only truth, existence. Anything that appears to exist is existence, capital E. Anything that appear to exist, if you see something that appears to exist, that means it is existence. Self is neither the doer nor the enjoyer. On the basis of Atman, self, you need not hesitate. You cannot see it, but you can only realize it. Secondly, if Arjuna says, I'm not thinking of Atman, but their body would die. That's what I love. Krishna responds to that in verse 27. Jatasya hi dhruvo mityuho. That means those who are born are bound to die. Those who are dead are bound to be born. This can never be changed by anyone, even by him or the so-called Nirguna Brahman. This is inevitable. Would definitely happen, and there is no point in grieving about it. Something that is inevitable going to happen. This statement does not just refer to death alone, but many incidences in our life in day-to-day situations. We interact with so many people, even with our own family members, day-to-day interaction. Verse 27, he says, so therefore,
Madam,
accept.
just 1 minute.
Yes.
Just I'm trying to think on this, and it is my doubt also always. And you said correctly that self doesn't die, body dies, and self only changes the body.
Yes.
So, as per Gita, what is the need of self to have a body?
What is the need of self to have the body?
Yeah.
It is coming in chapter 3. The body is coming as a karma, consequences of the body's actions. Chapter 3 is karma.
Perpetual cycle.
It is a cycle. As long as jiva, I think I am this, I did this, I'm going to do this, or I am enjoying this, there is going to be a consequence. That consequence is you are going to experience. You have to come back to experience that consequence as a jiva.
Yeah, that happened because the body and
Yes.
self, there is a confusion, there is a mirage, and all those things. If at all Gita answers that question, why this body itself is there?
Because
had there been no body, only self, there would not have been the snake and rope.
Only self is there, but we think I am the body. Self alone
because
is
there
there.
is the element of this body.
That is,
and there is a misunderstanding. Self thinks this is I am this.
Self,
but why the body exists at all?
Why the body exists?
If it is, yeah.
No, we can maybe we can answer this question at the end of the session. So we don't delay everyone. We'll keep moving. Body exists because of we create our own consequences. We have created our blueprint. We as in the sense of jiva. So we interact with many people, and when things happen that is not conducive to our mind, Krishna says acceptance is a vital trait. Verse 27, we humans are often worried and afraid with the thought that I may suffer in the future or I am suffering now. These two thoughts are much more powerful than actual suffering. When we face situation that is beyond our control, acceptance is the only option. Because of we are so afraid of the future, that's why we take our horoscope and go and meet the astrologer. What is going to happen? Because we are so insecure. Acceptance is whatever happens in life, acceptance is the only option. If you have control over the situation, take charge. If you don't have control over the situation, just surrender. Accept it. Even we can see in Ramayana, Rama was supposed to go to get crowned as a king next morning. Early morning, father says, you have to go to the forest. Within overnight, things changed. Just few hours before. Even during Krishna's avatar, he had many against him. Things happen in life when you cannot change it, you cannot do anything about it, just accept it. We cannot change anyone. We can only change ourselves. Verse 14, he emphasizes endurance. First is acceptance. And then next one is endurance. That is tolerate, and patience. First one is accept wholeheartedly. I remember just before my marriage, my mom told me, There will be differences. Expect the difference, accept the difference. No two people can be the same. So expect and accept. Now here is another example. We have a toddler, we have a 2-3-year-old child. We try to take the child to the doctor for a vaccination. The moment the child sees the building or you get into the steps, the child will start crying loudly. I know where I'm going to be poked. That thought in the mind makes the child cry louder. When actually the shot is given, at that time everybody is holding the hand, the doctor. So that may be just a prick for 30 seconds. The child's volume will go down. But again, after the vaccination, the child will cry loud again. Oh, he pricked me. It happened to me. Right? That is how we worry about our past and future. Human beings are unable to deal with situations that are inevitable, unavoidable. It can be at home, it can be at work, or it can be with family members. When we face unwanted, unchangeable situation, just accept. Non-resistance is the key. The next one is tolerant, patience, endurance. That is also in Sanskrit, it's called titiksha. We live with several people at all times, but we often want others to do what we want them to do. We want them to think as we think. This is simply not possible. When we cannot change our own mind, how is it possible to change others? Accept people as they are. When a jiva is in deathbed, or someone is going through a very tough time, if our worry is going to change the situation, then we can worry about it. When that is not possible, the only way is to accept. And he uses the word apariharam. That means there is no remedy for the inevitable. Verse 28, Krishna says, death is not the end. It is more like a long sleep, waking up in a different body. Beings that attain visibility is birth. Beings that lose visibility is death. Birth and death are not for the self. It's like a seed, When the ego originates, we call it birth. When the seed sprouts, we call it a sprouted plant. When the jiva dies, we call it death. That is the seed. It is in the form of seed, bija avastha. Death is not a destruction, Arjuna. Birth and death are only for the body, not for the self. Even the mind has no death. It moves from this body to the other body. That is what incarnation. I'll send you something on that. So Arjuna, you have no reason to be in sorrow. Self, Atma, has no death and no destruction. Stula, the gross body, Anatma, is bound to die, bound to destroy, whether you are part of it or not. So there's no point in grieving for that too. All bodies are bound to disintegrate and decompose, applies to the entire humanity. Just like we accept others' death, which is initially difficult, and we tend to accept over time. Krishna says we need to accept ours too. It is called thanatophobia, T-A-N-A-T-O, thanatophobia, extreme fear of dying or dying process. Verse 31, he says, in fact, I know one person who is extremely fearful of this death. Since 1980, he has been telling me, I'm going to die. I don't know what will happen to my wife. I'm going to die. Since 1980, I'm listening to him. Even today, he's alive. The fear is in the mind that causes depression. And another lady in Bombay, she lost her husband in 1974. She passed away in 2014. And for 40 years, she would ask me, how are you managing? How are you managing? I can still think of him. She lives in the past for 40 years. There are people who cannot handle this unless the spirituality we know, we learn, we reflect on our ideas. It is very, very hard because there are a lot of people who are suffering because of not knowing this. And because I have seen it personally, I'm able to relate to those situations. Now, verse 41, not 41, verse 31, Arjuna says, why should I be, if Arjuna talks to Krishna, why should I be the one to kill Bhishma and Drodha? Why not someone else? This seems to be unrighteous to me. I don't want to kill. Krishna says, as a soldier, it is your duty. It is your swadharma. When the question of right and wrong comes, you don't need to worry. It is your primary duty to fight. We often see whenever our own loved one makes unrighteous things, it deludes us, and we don't accept that. In fact, there was a gun shooter here that I listened to a few months ago. The son goes and shoots somewhere in school or somewhere, and then he is caught, and his mother says, no, my son won't do it. So when we have our own people do it, because of attachment, we get deluded. When one child comes, we have seen this in last meeting, when one child, our child makes it, throws tantrum, we say, oh, he is only 4 years old, he'll get better afterwards. But when the neighbor's child says, then we start saying, our neighbor, they didn't raise the child well, because of attachment. So we judge ourselves with our intention, and we judge others by their behavior. So Krishna says, Arjuna, if you are sympathetic with the wrong ones, all the countrymen will say you are a coward. You dropped out. Warriors are supposed to be brave. They like to go and win all the other kingdoms. You have reached to the top, and the fall would be very steep. The higher we go, we are noticed much more closely. As an employer, as a parent, you are looked up to. So you want to behave in a way that you want your children or your subordinates to behave. The higher you go, the fall is going to be very steep. So he says, do not hesitate to fight. And the inaction, not doing it, also causes consequence. Not doing your duty also causes consequence. So you fight. Atma is ever present. You cannot kill it. Anatma is temporary. The body is going to die one day. Anyway, whether you do it or not. And third one is Dharma, is righteousness, this is your duty to do it. Verse 38 to 41, Krishna has here describes all actions to be performed with karma yoga attitude. So he's introducing karma yoga here. And next chapter 3 is karma yoga, elaborately. So only karma yoga purifies the mind, keeps the mind detached to be ready for self-realization. To understand self-knowledge, karma yoga is absolutely necessary. That is a fundamental. Karma is duties, yoga is practice. Karma yoga is not a separate activity, but the attitude with which you do all the actions. We call it work is worship, right? There are two types of actions that we perform, all humans. Actions that we like it and we enjoy it, we do it. Second one is performing your duties as karma yoga. Whether you like it or not, you must. In Sanatana Dharma, it says you must. There are certain duties that you must do it. from my experience, I was working in a school as an instructional assistant. When I said, you have to do this homework, it is your duty. One of the teachers corrected me, there is no duty here. It's a responsibility. They have to choose to do it, whether they can choose to do it or not do it. The concept of duty is mainly in Sanatana Dharma. Yes, you have, whether you like it or not, you have to do it. That is your duty. If you're brushing your teeth, you have to do it. But here, they may say, some may say it's your choice. No, it's not. So in the first mode, you like it and you do it. The second one is you do it as a karma yoga. Because when you do it as a karma yoga, there is no failure. In the first one, you can get, whether you may get the result as you desired, or you may not get it. But in the second one, when you do it as a karma yoga, it is definitely, undoubtedly, undeniably, always a successful result. Always. Glories of karma yoga, it mentions in 39 and 40. When one performs with this attitude, there is no failure in life. What needs to be done must be done. There are no ifs and buts. In Karma Kanda of Vedas, the first portion, earlier portion of Vedas, rituals are prescribed, like pujas, prayers, meditation. There are a lot of rituals. Those must be performed as prescribed, in a prescribed manner, or else you get sin. Even when we do fire yagya, there are how many bricks, how to pour the ghee, in which direction you need to sit. All those things are considered there. But in performing the same rituals with karma yoga attitude, it nullifies all sins. Even if you don't do it in the prescribed fashion. That is the second one. Third point is, in karma yoga, even if you perform it for one day, you get the proportional benefit. Like nutrition, we are busy at work, we don't have time for lunch. You just grab one banana and then keep going. That will last for 2-3 hours. I used to carry almonds in my pocket when I was working, because I would go in the morning and I don't know when I will have my lunch. I will always have almonds. That is exactly how karma yoga is. You do little bit, one day, few hours, you will get the benefit for that. If you build a house, you have the strong foundation, you raise the walls, you have windows, but you have not done the roof, the whole effort is a waste, because you cannot use that building. If you do the cultivation, plants, agriculture, and you sow, you water, and everything, lots of grains are there, but if you didn't harvest it, and there is a thunderstorm, everything goes to, all your efforts are waste. Say you want to chant some Sahasranama for 108 times, but you chant up to 100 and then for some reason you quit. You don't get the benefit. In school, we have seen if you do the long division, you do half of it, you don't get the score for the full division. You have to complete it until the end. There is a remainder or it's a 0. You don't get benefit. You don't get the score. But karma yoga, in every effort, has a benefit. There is absolutely no risk. Now, verse 41 and 44, 41 to 44. The goal, the purpose of life, human life, is not just to enjoy the pleasures and one day leave the body. For that, even an animal body could be fine. There is something beyond this world, because that lifestyle is materialistic. There is something beyond this world. The true, real, meaningful purpose of human existence is to attain divinity, to know the truth, attain contentment here and now, the inner peace, not getting perturbed or disturbed by anything that is happening around you, whatever is thrown at you. That is moksha, nirvana, liberation from the struggles of life. Sankhya and yoga. When one follows anything that we do, we need to follow the theory and practice. Theory alone won't cut it. Practice alone won't know, because you won't know the theory behind it. Both needs to go simultaneously for the benefit to be huge. Like you can learn all about biking in a book, from a book or YouTube. Same thing with swimming. But unless you get into water, get onto the bike and go on the street, you won't know, because different situation comes and you plan it accordingly. So practice makes permanent. You need to be able to, what you listen, you need to practice that on a daily basis. Focus and concentration both go together to lead to end goal in a day-to-day life. Same thing applies in spirituality also. In verse 45, he says, Arjuna, rise above the perishable attractions. Rise beyond the duality. Remain firm in the self. Mind will go haywire, but be firm. Karma Kanda of Vedas, the earlier portion, speaks all about perishables. Rise above the three gunas, triguna, nistraigunya, that is sattva, rajas, tamas. We are going to read that further. That is, develop a dispassion to the temporary, ephemeral glamour around you. Verse 47, in this verse, Krishna emphasizes, you have the power to act, but you do not have any power or right to choose the results of your actions. Before we do anything, we have full power and right to choose. We are the product of choices. Should I do this? Should I not do this? How do I do this? The power to choose. We human beings are product of choices. Therefore, human beings also gain the consequences. We act on intuitions. Animals act on instincts. They don't know what is right and wrong. They just act on instincts. We have that power to choose what is right and what is wrong. When we want to talk to someone, we have the right to think, what can I talk about, or what can I say? How can I say? What to say, when not to say. Should I say it now or later? We have that power. See, my grandson, who is 13 years, he goes to school in the morning, right? I get him ready. I don't really do much, but I give him breakfast, that's it. And then he's getting ready to take to school. He has to take his laptop, he has a charger and his headset, his homework, lunch, snack, everything with him. So at that time, if I go and ask him, hey, what would you like to have for dinner? It is a disturbance in his chain of thought. You step back. You don't need to talk to him at that time. 15 minutes before anybody goes to work or school or anything else, don't talk. So we need to understand when to talk, when not to talk, when to say what and when not to say. We have the choice. We have full freedom. But once the beans are spilled, it is difficult to reverse it back. We can't take back what is being said. The results of those words will come back to us. We have no option to say, I don't want that result. We all have several duties, responsibilities, the power to act on them. This must be performed at all costs, but we have no right for the results of actions. Every action has a corresponding result. But we humans we don't act without knowing what is in it for me. Always. Why should I do that? What is in it for me? That is the cause of all sufferings. Our focus is more on the result than on the process. Success and failure are in the mind. There is no success or failure. There is only an outcome, a result. Success is the progressive realization of our ideas. When I reach, I want to do this, I want to accomplish this. When I accomplish this, then I say I'm successful. When I don't get that, then I say I'm a failure. There are no success and failure per se. It is based on our expectations. In every activity, in every interaction, we expect a desired result. He should behave like this, she should speak like this. These are not in our hands. I can be very disciplined, but that doesn't guarantee my health. So first, Karma Yoga's first aspect is I am doing my duty to the best of possibilities and abilities, and I accept whatever comes. This is offering and accepting, Arpana Buddhi and Prasada Buddhi. That is the symbolism of Prasada in temple. Today they will give me a sweet. Tomorrow they may give me a flower. Day after they may give me just ash, vibhuti. I cannot ask, give me the sweet. Accept what is, whatever comes. Whatever comes in life, good or bad, I accept it as a gift from God. No guilt, no anxiety. Whenever we perform with a desire to get something, we will get it from God. Ask and you shall receive always, and you enjoy it. But when you do the same action in Karma Yoga attitude, that purifies the mind and gets you qualified for self-knowledge. Arjuna, do this duty as Karma Yoga without expecting a result. So now the question may be, if the result is not in my hands, why should I even do anything? Krishna says, inaction is not an option. Not doing anything is never an option, because anyone who has taken this body has to act. When you rest, you rest. R-E-S-T or U-S-T. I had shingles 3 years ago. I was in bed for 6 months. I was given medicine. I was drugged completely. I would sleep for 16 to 20 hours a day. Nothing. I didn't know anything. After 3 months, my muscles got stiff. I could not move my body. If you rest, you rest. So you want to be as active as possible with a human body. So inaction is not an option. You have to act, but the result is not in your hands. A hunter can shoot an arrow at a bird, or to the right, to the left, or towards a tree. But once the arrow leaves the bow, and suddenly a family member comes in between, that person has no power to arrest that arrow. I again remember one of my friend who was backing up his car from his garage, and his 4-year-old kid was coming and he got killed. It was an accident. And even today, he is thinking about those days. You have the power to act, and before that you have the choice to see, check everything, make sure that your kids are inside. But the result is not in your hands. The consequences of our actions is not in our hands. The more we expect, most definitely we suffer. Focus on the process, not on the result. Enjoy what you have when you have. Live in the present. Second, verse 48, second feature of Karma Yoga is equanimity towards results of actions. First one is you do your duty, you have no power over the result. The second one is equanimity towards the results. Victory or defeat, profit or loss, pain or pleasure, honor or dishonor, appreciation or insult. Do not get elated. Do not get depressed. Verse 50. Every action causes a bondage. Meaning we humans have to come back to experience the result of our own actions. But we can use the same actions to release ourselves from those bondages that by performing with a karma yoga attitude. Just like we use a thorn, when a thorn pricks on a foot, we use another thorn to take it out, and we throw both of them out. So you use the actions first. Upon self-realization, you don't have to afterwards. So summary of karma yoga is the right to perform. You have the right to perform, but no right to over the result. Second, equanimity towards the results. Third is using the same actions, karmas, to liberate from the bondage. Benefits of karma yoga. There are no failure in karma yoga. You don't incur any sin. Every bit has a benefit. Helps you develop dispassion, helps you purify your mind so that you are able to discern the truth from the appearance. You develop intense, deep curiosity to know the Supreme. Krishna says all the glories of karma yoga. Verse 54, Arjuna is now asking a question. Is there a person who has performed karma yoga, jnana yoga, and performed all actions with that attitude, who is learned and realized? And the Sanskrit word is sthita pragya. Sthita means the firm, solid. Pragya means knowledge. The one who is firm in that knowledge of Supreme. A person of steady wisdom. How will he speak, act, behave, interact with others? So Krishna responds in verse 55, we cannot identify or pinpoint such an individual. We can only relate when we are in that stage. He alone knows from within, I am in this stage. Such a person has no desires for worldly attractions. He is centered within himself with absolute truth. He is happy within himself, oneself. One who is completely happy without being perturbed by anything that is happening around is a realized one. One doesn't seek another person to keep him engaged. One doesn't need anyone's support for mental peace or any object to entertain him and interact with. One is content with himself, without a second entity, a sthita pragyan. We all need a TV or phone or iPad or someone to chat with. We long for something, anything that because we often feel that we are bored. During pandemic, we were all physically distanced, but socially we were not, through Zoom. But many felt that they are confined. Throughout our lives, for 60, 50, 80 years, we have strived to be happy. Are we contented now? No. That's because we are bound to the cycle of birth and death, the whirlpool of samsara. A French physicist said, all humanity's problems stem from man's inability to sit quietly in a room. See, physical labor is not very difficult. So if you wake up and you have to go to the grocery stores, you spend an hour there, then you have to go somewhere else, do that chore, do this task, do that task. By the time you come back, it is evening, 4 o'clock, you have done all day, you work for 8, 10 hours. You're exhausted. Then you rest and you get better. Same thing with mental thinking. You can plan, you can have a to-do list and have a plan, you can delegate, you can do whatever. But sitting quietly in a room without anything for 2 hours is a big task. taking control of that mind without even thinking about anything. So liberation is not after death. It is here and now when we are alive. That is what Vedanta Upanishad shows. They show us the path and methodology. Know thyself. Then once you know that thyself, I am that, then be firm in that. That is Nishta. Jnana Nishta. Now verse 62 and 63 are important. They are ladder of fall. When we keep on thinking of someone or something consistently, we develop a desire to possess, acquire it. We want to have it, possess it, and if someone or a third entity comes as an obstacle, we get angry. Anger causes delusion. Anger, remember, it is one letter short of danger. That anger, delusion is there in the mind. It is a continuous thunderstorm, cyclone inside your mind. Delusion causes to see the right things wrongly, wrong things right. You are deluded. Then words and actions come out, they burst out. Logical reasoning is lost. When he mentions it in verse 58, when a danger is anticipated, a tortoise instantly withdraws all its limbs inside its shell. Similarly, a realized person, a man of wisdom, steady wisdom, sthita prajna, pulls all his senses in. He is not drawn to any glamour outside. Normally, we talk to someone or we talk about someone. We have to see ourselves. Just like a snake charmer handles a dangerous snake in a tactful manner, twists, turns, and makes it a garland, a sthita prajna handles all attractions and is never drawn to or caught by any of those. As sthita prajna is metaphorically compared to a nocturnal. Ignorance see differences, meaning they are still in a dreamland. They are sleeping. As sthita prajna is awake, sees one alone is. There is no second. He recognizes that one presence in all. He is fully awake while all others are in dream state. That is why Swami Vivekananda used to say, arise and awake. His disciples are not sleeping. Literally, right? So we use all your senses with a pure mind. There's no craving should be there. Anityam atraptikaram. That means that nothing is permanent in this universe. Enjoy what you have when you have it. Verse 65, focus on that one self. Mind becomes calm. The entire universe is in your mind. They are the reflection of your mind. That is why each one sees the world differently, and we call it perception. Because each mind is different. You alone is. Nothing is yours. You own nothing. I and mine creates bondage. You are the gardener of this kingdom. You take care of the garden. You be kind, compassionate, generous, water the plants, enjoy the flowers, but nothing is yours. Do your duty with a karma yoga attitude to destroy the ego, I and mine. Only when you wake up, you realize that all that you saw was a dream. Self is beyond the waking and dream state, the witness of both. That is what you are. Witness of all drama happening around you. That is what they call it as Krishna Leela or Nataraja's dance. You alone is. All changes are seen. With this, we complete chapter 2. I'm going to show you a quick PowerPoint presentation with a few slides before we end it. Let me show you that. you all see it?
Yep.
Bhagavad Gita is divided into 3 sections. Shatkatriya, that means first to 6 chapter, 1 to 6, 7 to 12, and 13 to 18. 1 to 6 is Jiva Swarupa. That is, it talks about individuals, you and I, Tvam, Jiva. 7 to 12 about Ishvara Swarupam, the one supreme presence, one alone is, and that is referred as Tat. This is referred as Tvam. So he's taking from the known to the unknown. Tvam, I, is that I think, this body, right? Tvam. Then 13 to 18 is Jiva Brahma Aikyam. How is this one, I and that are both are same? So first one is from the performance, for 1 through 6 is Karma Yoga, 7 to 12 is Bhakti Yoga, 13 to 18 is Jnana Yoga. See, the kids come and play in the beach, sand, they make castles and houses and different things. They even make animals and name it. Similarly, but next day, when the water comes and takes it out, flattens everything, next day other set of kids come and do it. That's exactly that's how our body, our life is all about. Sand is alone there. Atma alone is there. All these names and forms are our own creations. Sand alone is there always. Body changes. Different types. But you are the witness of all these changes. Right? Can you see it fully? I can't see it, but I'll keep it. See, so you are the witness of all these changes. You ever exist. You are the existence. This is the aurora that I was talking about. It's all an appearance. This is a water mirage, rainbow, aurora, blue sky. Is it a snake or a rope? All these are appearances. They give you emotions and you act on it. Oh, what a beautiful sight. We talk about it, but it is just an appearance. This is the one that French physicist who mentioned that all humanity's problems stem from a man's inability to sit quietly in a room. Physical labor, we saw that activities, you can keep on doing it until you're physically exhausted. Mental thinking, you can do it. But sitting quietly is the big challenge. That is the inability. That's verse 53. Let the body complete the task for which it came into being, like an actor playing his part in a drama, free from love or hatred. You're playing you are an actor in a play. You come and act, but you don't forget who you are. You are not that actor, even though you have to take everything. You act like a king. But when you are done with that, you come back to your original. This is the snake charmer in India. We have I realized one metaphorically compared to a tortoise. This is a tortoise. He has everything in his control and is not distracted by the external situation. He is contented from within. I thought I will show you that. I think this is the last one. This is the last one. So let me finish this and then we can discuss for 5 minutes. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Full to me.
Sorry.
Okay.
Oh, I'm just recording now.